3, 2, 1. I'm so happy that we're finally sitting down to do this.
Yeah, me too.
Been looking forward to it. For everyone listening on Spotify, again, this is one of the podcasts that I am shooting in Austin, Texas. Switch over to YouTube because we are in a professional studio today. It is soundproofed as shit. We've got the basic Instagram floral wall behind us.
You know, you got to. It's Austin.
This is the Austin experience. And I'm also sweatier than usual because my New Mexican body is not used to humidity yet. This place is insane. This place is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But it's been awesome meeting you. The Thursday show, initially I came into town on Thursday and I checked out your show that you were hosting. The Maverick was on it. That was a lot of fun.
Great. So I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, congratulations on that. I'm not even a wine guy, and that place got me into wine.
Oh, good. So, did you have like the margaritas or whatever?
No,
I just drank wine. I
just stuck to red wines. I've heard the horror stories of mixing red wine with anything else and just having a nasty headache.
Correct.
In the morning.
Yeah. Don't. Yeah.
So you are an Austin-based comedian.
Yes.
How long have you been doing? Have you always been in Austin doing stand-up?
Yeah, I started here.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing stand-up for?
6 years. This month actually. I think May 30th is my birthday.
That's what's up. Congratulations.
Thanks.
What made you like get into comedy?
I grew up acting.
Okay.
And when I graduated from college, I got hired by this troupe called Shit-Faced Shakespeare, which is what it sounds like.
Which is stand-up comedy.
Which is kind of turned into it. So like we would get one actor drunk during the show, and then we all, the sober actors had to figure it out.
Yeah.
So like it turned into just a derailment of whatever play we were doing. Like Romeo and Juliet never ended the way you expected it to. Like the rules of the play were just find an ending. Like once the drunk fucks it up so bad. Like I played Juliet when we ran Romeo and Juliet, and like many times I would go for a different character other than Romeo, or I'd like take the poison early, or I'd like fuck off to Mantua and just not come back like when I was supposed to return and do the death scene. So like you can do things like that when you're the drunk, and then the sober actors just have to figure out another way to end the play. So it was very fun. But anyway, I was doing that, and part of it was like you needed to be pretty good at crowd interaction because obviously it was like super rowdy, and like growing up acting, you're not supposed to break that fourth wall.
Right.
And so my most consistent note was act more drunk and like don't be afraid of the audience. And so I was like, okay, I'm really bad at giving into like the naturally funny impulses that I have when I'm drunk. So I'm not taking an improv class. Fuck that. That's gay. So I was like, stand-up's cool. So I was like, stand-up's cool. That seems really fun. Let me go creep at some open mics. Nice. And it turned out one of my friends from college had just started doing it and found out I was interested. Sam Castillo, he's a comedian here. He opens for Tim Dillon sometimes now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he was like, dude, I think you'd really like stand-up. You should try it. And so I signed up, and it was like the scariest thing I had ever done on stage. Like,
I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. Podcast is now officially sponsored by the amazing people over at High Desert Relief, a premier herbal destination right here in the state of New Mexico. They have extremely well-trained and knowledgeable staff that are more than happy to help you find what you're looking for, or try something that you maybe have never thought of. They have 2 locations here in Albuquerque, 1 in Santa Fe. All 3 will be listed right here and in the description of this episode. All 3 offering legendary products at absolutely legendary prices, including this awesome merch that they were so kind enough to gift me here. All of this can be found at all 3 of their locations. Again, big thank you to the guys over at HDR for supporting. Now back to the episode.
I grew up doing all sorts of performance, and like nothing felt like stand-up.
Where was the first open mic at?
Kick Butt Coffee. Wednesday nights.
Is it still around?
Yeah.
That's what's up.
That's crazy. It's one of the mics that like was OG, I'm pretty sure, in the scene, and it stuck around.
That's what's up. And I asked that question because, Albuquerque is still in the the phase where the comedy community is still growing.
Yeah.
Open mics are popping up and then shutting down 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's still in that
Because businesses figure out they're not profitable.
No, for real. Well, actually, I will say this: there are a lot of businesses that are wanting to do more open mics because they're bringing in like a lot more liquor sales than they would have on a Monday night.
Yeah,
or on a
that's
Tuesday
true.
night.
Yeah.
Because like Albuquerque, it's quiet. Like the shit shuts down, with the exception of the violence. The shit shuts down at like 9 p.m.
Got it.
And it's tough for a lot of businesses, and like specifically breweries. A lot of the smaller ones, it's tough for them to have like a lot of liquor sales on like a Monday or a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So being able to have like a bunch of drunk comedians in there, they're trying to live their dreams.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's like Mr. Krabs when his eyes turn into dollar signs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of restaurants are like, let's start an open mic to get more people in here. And then they end up just selling most of their liquor to the comics. But they're like, whatever, we sold it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. But so now that you've been in Austin for 6 years, how have you seen, especially like post-COVID, this place has fucking exploded.
Yeah, it's insane.
Right? How have you seen it grow since you started?
I've pretty much been watching just the city in general grow my entire life. Like, just in terms of the city, my dad used to dove hunt where Dell headquarters is by the toll road.
Okay, so you're from Austin.
I'm from Austin.
You are from Austin. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, like, the city itself has grown insanely since I was born here. And then the scene itself, pre-COVID, we had 1.5 comedy clubs. We had Cap City and the Velveeta Room. And the only reason I say half is because, like, the Velve was, like, it was a comedy club, but it was, like, that was where we could go to develop. And then Cap City was, like, oh, once you start getting booked to host or feature there, that's, like, your professional opportunity in Austin.
How many people can sit in the Velveeta Room?
50?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
That's a good room to, like
it is, and I'm still to this day, that's where I'm most likely to bomb. I tell the booker that all the time. He always puts me first, and I'm always gonna bomb. And it's like, I did a show there the other day, and again, he put me first, and I was like, Pat, why do you always put me first on this shit? I always bomb here. And I was like, I'm always gonna take the spot because I have to stop bombing here.
Yeah.
But and like literally the first tour that I was asked to open on, one of our monikers before we went on tour was like, we have to not bomb at the Velve. Like, we have to have a good set at the Velve. And I told him that, and he was like, I love that. He was like, I'll definitely give you a better spot next time because of that attitude, though.
Yeah.
He was like, if you had been complaining to me that you're always opening and like, fuck this, I would have been like, okay, whatever. But like,
can you kind of explain? This was mentioned when I just got done doing a podcast yesterday with Maverick or the day before, and this was kind of mentioned at the end, but we didn't get to go into it too much. Can you explain however much detail you want to go into it, like how hard it is to open a cold room? Because I feel like a lot of people, and I'm self-admittedly, before I started doing stand-up, the mindset was like, oh, the lineup, and this may or may not be true, but the lineup is based upon skill level.
right.
And it's like the weakest
that
guys.
is how a lot of people look at it.
Right.
And it is how it's structured on a lot of like normal comedy shows, I would say, like the opener, feature, headline. Yeah.
Right. But let's say like it doesn't really matter what kind of show, I guess, but
Yeah.
like explain like how difficult it is to start a cold room, whether it's in a comedy club, whether it's in a wine tasting restaurant facility, like how tough is that?
It depends on the audience, I would say. It's very tough. It's very tough to go up there and not be in your head about looking like an idiot. Like, the only other thing I can relate it to is like when you would do a class project and like you had to go present it and like no one really wants to be there listening to it, but they have to be.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're the host for like a huge headliner and they're like, why the fuck do I have to sit through this bitch for 10 minutes before I get to see someone who's actually funny and then the headliner I'm here for? Like, that's kind of the mentality sometimes. Because think about concerts too. No one shows up for the opener half the time because you have the option. So it is a little bit like they're like, okay, well, we're here to watch the good stuff. And so they're less inclined to listen to you, but it really does feel like you're getting in front of the class to like present this project, and you have to be so fucking excited about this project and trying to get them as excited about it as you are. They're not drunk yet.
Yeah.
They probably, unless it's a Saturday, they just got off work. So they're probably still like in their heads about that or whatever. So you really need to like figure out as a host, like, how am I getting their attention in a way that is energizing but not annoying because they're not energized yet. And yeah, it's just a lot of games. Like you need to get pretty good at reading the energy of the room, I would say. Because if you walk into the room and the audience is pretty chatty and happy and they seem cool, it's like, okay. But if you walk into a room and it's kind of quiet in there and there's a lot of people, it's like, that's different, you know? But yeah, the class project analogy, I think, is the best description I could say. Like,
that's a good way to put it. How like, as far as when you're reading the room and you're trying to figure out how you're going to go about it, and you start picking, now that you have your strategies to do it, you do it quite well. How long did it take you for you to match that up to your personality and make it flow well? Because I mean, it's like there's a 1,000 different ways to do stand up, and certainly 1,000 different ways to open a room. But I mean, you know, from my own personality and the little bit I've been like really taking the time to learn it and figure it out in the conduit of stand up, at least.
right.
You know, if I walk out there and try to match the energy of like Jim Carrey, that's not gonna
happen
because it's not me.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Even if I was doing it in a respectful way, that's like taking inspiration, or like he's so clearly my favorite comic, which he's not, but he's amazing.
Right.
But like, I know my personality.
Right.
That's not gonna fucking work out.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to like again match your strategy with your own personality and make it feel as natural as you want it to be?
Well, I think by the time I started stand up, I was kind of lucky already because I had so much acting experience.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like, I would say it's more so actually been me discovering my comedy style and how that fits into my personality rather than like, how does my hosting style fit into my comedy style, fit into my personality? Like, I think I'm pretty naturally okay with just like talking to people like this. And so having stage experience already coming into stand up and then just knowing how to be like an engaging person in conversation, I guess, like just treat it like a conversation is how I've approached hosting. Because, I mean, you get up there and sometimes the audience is like, don't fucking talk to me. I don't want to talk to me. Just sit there and tell your stupid little jokes. And then sometimes you try to do that. And then they're like, those are your jokes. And so then you need to like yell at them. And it's like, or do whatever to like crack them open or ask them a question. Okay, you think you're so important. What do you do for work? Great. Like, you know, so it just kind of depends. I don't know if that was really like an answer. I feel like the hosting side was actually easier for me to get a hold of. Like, but I'm again, like, I wouldn't describe myself as bubbly, but everyone tells me I'm bubbly. So I think I just try to be the most myself when I'm hosting.
Well, I mean, that isn't,
I don't know.
That is a descriptor I'd use, at least for that show that I saw on Thursday. Like, you're high energy, you walk in, like, you're clearly happy, like, at least you give off the presentation you're happy to be there and you're excited to be there, not type of shit. I'm sure you were, but that's a good way to put it, is you're viewing it as a conversation with the audience, because that allows you to be comfortable when they're not making noise.
Right.
Were you like off the bat, you were cool with silence when you said something,
No.
like, when you thought I was going to get a laugh?
No.
And so how long did that take you? And I asked that as a very selfish question, because one of the few things that I'm very lucky, I feel like I'm lucky to have with stand-up, is if I say something and I think it's going to get a fucking laugh and it doesn't, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
You're very lucky, yeah.
But then I see like my peers and they just fucking, like, don't get me wrong, I get nervous. Yeah. I'm not saying I don't get nervous.
Right.
But it's never like thrown me off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for like I've seen my peers, my friends, when they go up and they just fucking, there were sometimes they just shatter.
Right.
So how long did that take you to really get past that?
I don't know if I was ever necessarily shattered either, like, but bombing gets easier. Like, I definitely was like so fucking scared to do comedy like the first year. And that was definitely like, I did at least a mic a night, every night I could when I first started. And that was the good thing about the scene here too, is it was a small local scene, but not like, there was enough mics that you could do a mic a night or multiple mics a night if you wanted to, even
I was going to ask, like,
pre-COVID.
were there like multiple mics a night
Yeah.
back then? Yeah. That's
Wednesday
sick.
nights were my favorite because I could hit all three that were happening. But yeah, like shit, where was I going with this?
So when you first started out, you're doing multiple mics a night,
multiple
you're getting
mics a
comfortable with
night.
bombing.
Correct, yeah. The bombing like felt worse obviously than like fucking something up in a play. but also didn't. Like, oh my God, like I cannot tell you the amount, like it's making me sweat thinking about it right now. If someone like misses their entrance or like totally skips a section of a scene, like when you're acting with them, like it's like this sudden like, oh fuck, like I need to adjust for this. Cause like I've been in scenes with people before where like that happens, they fully miss their entrance. Like in a musical, this happened one time, and you can't just fucking miss your entrance in a musical. The music is playing and like a main character just didn't come on stage for their thing. And so like the other person that was singing had to just figure it out. And like that almost feels worse than bombing sometimes, because it's like this unknown variable that I didn't have control over just fucked up the whole scene for everyone. So I already was used to like being terrified on stage, if that makes sense. And so I think like bombing sucked, but I realized very quickly like, well, I have control over this because it's just me on stage. So it's like, if the joke sucks, that's my fault. And now I know that it sucks and I can go fix it or I can scrap it. And so I think like looking at it from the perspective of I have control over this, not like I wrote this thing and y'all hated it, now I want to kill myself, but it's like, but looking at it from the perspective of like, I wrote this thing, y'all didn't like it, guess what, I can write it again, you know, like, that's, I don't know, I just try to take like the positive spin on everything, so,
That's funny. Yeah, no, that's why, I mean, that's what I always liked about stand-up, but now that I'm actually like, stepping like putting my toes in the water, you know, it's in my opinion, like it's the purest like art form. It's you and a microphone, figure it out. Like and there's, you know, you are in control of all of it. And what do you think about the excuse, oh, it's just a bad audience?
I think that's valid sometimes.
Where do you find that being a real excuse?
I've seen it on Litty Titty before, my show at the Creek. Like there was a crowd one time that had such a rowdy group in the front, but they weren't like so rowdy that we needed to kick them out. Like it was for the vibe of my show, it was making it more fun. Yeah. But everyone got gonged on that show. Oh shit. And it was just because that group wanted to be petty and fuck around. And then the rest of the audience just kind of picked up on that energy. And it really was like comics versus audience. And that's kind of the environment I foster in there anyway. But it was like to another level where I was just like, yo, this audience is conspiring against all of y'all right now. Like one guy was killing. I felt so bad that we gonged him. Like the rule is if the audience lights up their lights, we're gonging you no matter what. So this guy was killing, and then he got gonged because the 3 people with glow sticks didn't like the football team his joke was about. As they're laughing at the joke, they're turning their lights on because they're like, fuck the Chiefs. And, you know, so it's like and then he was like, why'd you guys gong me? And we're like, the audience gonged you. But like, it's just one of those things where you can tell, like, sometimes just the vibe gets weird and they want it to be chaotic.
Well, that was fucking, I didn't even think shows like that existed last night. The banana phone.
Oh, thing, yeah.
That, I was telling Mav in the back, I was like, dude, Albuquerque needs this.
Yeah.
I texted my buddy, like, we need this.
Yeah.
If these audiences want to heckle so fucking bad, let's give it to them.
Yeah.
For people who have no idea what we're talking, well, you're talking about your gong show. We have something like that in Albuquerque where it's like, they, audience members or judges can actually go up and hit the gong.
Oh, the audience can walk up and hit the gong? Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
You can, like, do an audible where someone's like, you know what, this fucking, I've seen it happen, like, this fucking sucks. And they just go and
I can't give them that much power.
Yeah. And then we have, like, they do Def Jam nights where they're, where the crowd is encouraged to boo. Yeah. But last night we were at the Creek in the Cave, and I just want to say too, not to be a fucking like a kid at Disneyland. He is a kid at Disneyland. I'm wearing a fucking mothership hat. All right.
Are you? I didn't even notice. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. Dude, everyone just wears the club merch so much around here. I don't even notice when people are wearing it anymore.
See, and I didn't want to wear it in public because I noticed right off the bat that all of the mothership staff
always wear their, yeah.
And I was like, I am not in that club.
Yeah.
I'm not in that crew. I will wear this in closed environments.
And that's why it's backwards right now.
But anyway, so yeah, it feels weird being able to say that. Last night we were at the Creek in the Cave. That's just cool. And anyway, so there's a show called Banana Phone. And what is it, 45 seconds a minute?
You get 1 minute uninterrupted to do your stand-up.
So it's like Kill Tony.
Kinda.
If Tony had like no control over the fucking audience.
Yeah, it's like you get
There's
1 minute.
no interview afterwards, but basically what it is like you get a minute to do a set, and
They
and
ring
then
the cowbell.
Yeah, there's a cowbell that goes off, and I didn't know what to expect. I was kind of half paying attention to the host. I was still trying to get a drink.
Yeah.
And so I sat down and I hear a bell go off, and then some asshole in the back just goes, "Hey, so and so, you're a da da da." I was like, "Whoa, is this the show?"
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great. It's so fun. Like, that's one of the like main comedy shows that other comics like to go hang out at. It's perfect because it's a Sunday night, and like anyone in the audience can heckle after that cowbell goes off. So as long like if you can yell, that's why everyone's like, "Hey, hey!" Like whoever yells "hey" the loudest gets their roasted next.
Yeah.
And it's literally just real people to comics yelling the meanest shit to whoever's on stage. And the rules are very funny too. It's always like, don't be racist unless it's funny. You know, just things like that. Like, I think one of the rules she says too is like, if it's a white guy, we get it. Of course he can be a predator, but black people can be predators too. Like, she's like, get creative with your jokes. You know, like Mexicans can be school shooters too. Just like things like that. It's like, that's so funny. Like, it's literally just be as mean as possible as long as it's funny.
Yeah, no, and it was a blast. Like it felt like it was controlled chaos. You know, it wasn't like the fucking bar from SpongeBob where everyone was getting thrown out and punched in the head or anything, but it was controlled chaos.
Yeah.
And I was watching all that go down. I was like, we have roast battles in Albuquerque, and they're a lot of fun, and they get packed out. Like,
Yeah.
It's like I think they do them like once a quarter, and the 250, 300 seater gets sold out every time.
For sure.
And so it's cool that we have the culture of like, we need a show like that.
Yeah.
That is and do you or any of the comics, like, do you find yourself going to that show to like try out roast that you've written?
Well, I was gonna say that's a good show as a comedian if you want to sit there and heckle to get good at fast roasting, because you like. At least for me, like, it's a lot of, like, more open micers and stuff that are signing up. And, like, there's just so many people here now that I don't know at least half of the people that get pulled on Banana Phone every week. So, like,
Right.
For me, it's like, I've never seen this person before. Can I come up with a fast roast in the minute they're up there? And then, like, also be brave enough to yell it.
Right.
You know, because that's the other thing. It's like you might come up with something that you think is really cool and then you yell it and then they're like, fuck you. You know, that wasn't funny or whatever. So, like, it'll turn on you, too, if your roast is bad.
Oh, yeah. I felt that last night.
Yeah.
I yelled something out, and I got a couple of chuckles, and I got a strong fuck you back. I was like, okay, yeah, sounds good.
Thanks, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a muscle. That's like a comedic muscle that not a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And that's one that, especially like with the like energy that Albuquerque has, I want to grow that muscle as quickly. If I could inject comedic steroids into one muscle, it's roasting.
It would be that.
It would be roasting.
Interesting.
Because like there are some people like, oh my god, like we've had people like yell stupid shit or what, the normal stuff that happens at comedy shows.
Right.
But it's not even just I'll take that back. It's not even the roasting aspect of it. It's the in the moment, like the improv of it. Like how sharp can you be
Correct.
in any situation? Because like for instance, we were at an open mic on a Wednesday night, which is also my favorite one. And this guy was in town. He's from Australia, and we had just got done doing a podcast. And he was like, "What are you doing tonight?" And I'm not gonna try to do an Australian accent, but he was like, "What are you doing tonight?" I was like, "Going to open." I said, "Oh, I'll go with you. I'll do a set." I was like, "Okay, sounds good." So we go down there. He gets like, because there was a table of 3 people, and it was 2 guys and a girl, and they were acting kind of weird all night. But he gets like 30 seconds into his set, and this girl just starts, not like crying, weeping.
No.
Audibly, like just weeping.
And she's like near the stage.
So the mic is right here.
Yeah.
Their table's right here.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and she starts like weeping. She had to have been on mushrooms.
Yeah.
Had to have. And so I'm looking at them like, what? And I'm sitting at the bar right here. And I'm like, what the fuck? I look in the back, and the host, God bless him, Chuck Parker, he looks like Jesus. Got the blonde beard, the long hair.
Yeah.
I look at him in the back. He's like,
oh, God. He's like, let it roll, dude.
Yeah, and then I went up afterwards. And I used to have a joke about retired Oompa Loompas. And when I said that phrase, she like, it's like God flipped a switch in her brain from like violently crying to psychotically laughing.
She was totally on shrooms.
Equally scary, by the way.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So, but then I thought about that afterwards. Like, okay, but that wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to make her laugh. Like
Right.
that. I mean, make people laugh.
I mean, you
like,
meant to
not
make
that,
her laugh, but you weren't expecting that. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, oh, okay, so it's possible. And building that kind of muscle and shit
Right.
like that. What type of shows do you find like you grow the most in?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I mean, you know, at the beginning of this, I said I felt like I was very uncomfortable with the crowd and stuff. And like getting myself to do actual crowd work has been very difficult. Like, I like being able to stick to the jokes that I wrote.
Same.
And so I've been like accepting more spots on like crowd work only shows.
Oh, crowd work. How does that get received by audiences? I feel like there's a divide right now where it's like, if you only do crowd work, you're a hack.
Well,
and if you can't do crowd work, you're a, you know what I mean?
That's actually like a lot of comedians are saying that. I would actually say that most quote unquote normal people, civilians, non-comedians,
those with stable lives.
yeah, those with better choices than me, that aren't raspy on a Monday. We totally didn't stay up until 3 last night anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But
this is a dangerous city.
but I feel like the majority of people who aren't as familiar with comedy, like they're not heavy comedy fans. They just generally are like, yeah, stand-up's cool. They all just think it's crowd work now because that's what gets posted on social media because we don't want to burn our material. And so I can't tell you how many times I've had the conversation of like, because like if it's just a dude who's like was at the show or something, like, and he, you know, talks to me afterwards, it's always like, oh, do you like write your material or is it new every time? Are you fucking kidding me? Who's doing new material every single time? And that's a mistake that I've actually had to tell some newer comedians recently. I met some newer comics when I was in Corpus Christi this past weekend, and one of them was like, yeah, well, a lot of the mics here are mostly just comics. So I've just been doing new material every time. And I'm like, dude, like, yes, keep writing. Yes, figure out better material. But like, also, if you feel like a joke has some legs and it's not there yet, you have to keep doing it to make it better.
There's a. I mean, I can speak to that for sure. There's a pressure to like, because again, the only people, especially, I don't think anything's unique to Albuquerque. But most of these people at these fucking open mics are other comedians, and these are people, and you know, you spend enough time with these people, you become friends.
They've seen your shit a million times,
and there is a pressure to be like, no, I'm gonna show up with new jokes every week, and I'm not gonna like, I'm not gonna like redo my stuff that I did a couple weeks ago, or I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. I'll save that for like whatever time in the void is gonna come up.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that's some advice I got really early on. Was like, no, if you exactly what you just said, if you feel like this could go somewhere, don't you want to take it there?
Yeah.
Rather than just being like, nope, new joke. Nope, new joke.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I oftentimes feel like I don't write enough new stuff, but I, like, am constantly, like, looking at the jokes that I have and figuring out how to add more things. Or, like, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I have about 40 good minutes that I like right now that I can put in basically any order, and I'm good on the transitions. Nice. I know how all the shit connects. I know, like, the callbacks, like, in many different ways of structuring the set. And I like that because, like, sometimes it's just, like, you don't know why someone's making this point or, like, they're doing this joke about this thing and then they jump over. And that's cool, too. It's another style. Yeah. But just for me, I like it to feel more flowy and conversational. And
well, if you look at the best stand-up specials, period, it doesn't matter what time they came out in, they run like a movie.
They have
like
a storyline.
Story. It's not just like, okay. And like you said, it is a style. Or like, hey, we're talking about this. Now we're talking about this. Now we're talking about this. Remember that? Okay, now we're talking about this.
Yep.
That is a way to do it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. But the best ones flow that way. And I feel like our brain.
We just got hit by lightning. Sorry, guys.
I feel like our brain is wired like that. Like, we want to follow something cohesive.
Correct.
We don't want to just be told, like, talked to.
And I've noticed, I mean, like, it makes all of the jokes better when they connect, I think, because then people are like, oh, I see what you did there, you know, like they don't even realize you're connecting these dots until you say that final thing and they're like, whoa, you know, like it's fun. But yeah, I mean, like you were asking about like how our crowd work shows received, at least here, I think like pretty well. Like I think the ones that exist here are advertised as such, so it's like if you're walking into it, it's like you're ready to be crowd worked.
Yeah, like you're in the splash zone.
Yeah.
So is that where you find that you're growing the most right now, at least?
Yeah, I'm trying to get better at crowd work, and then just like still roasting. I mean, like during COVID when everything was shut down, I did a virtual show with this Chicago comic named Ken Hamlet, and stand-up was not allowed on the show, but it was a comedy show because stand-up on Zoom sucks. So we made a game show where we booked stand-up comedians to do literally anything other than stand-up for 3 rounds, 5 minutes each. And if it was funny, we scored you well. Or if we learned something, we scored you well.
We learned something.
Or whatever. Honestly, it was literally like Who's Line, where the point system didn't make any sense, but they did matter at the end because someone won.
The dude's teaching his own college class.
Seriously, we had someone do their college cheerleading routine. We had people teach us how to make drinks. Like it was really funny, and it was obviously like trying to make it funny. But like if they were doing something serious, me and Ken would be roasting them the whole time or whatever, and then afterwards talking to them, it turned into a roast session pretty much.
Right.
So like I bring that up because like I felt like I still grew a comedic muscle during COVID because Ken and I got really fucking good at bantering with one another. We naturally just had really good banter, but we got really good like co-hosting and then also just on the fly roasting.
That is a skill so many people underestimate.
Co-hosting's really tough, and it's like I always tell people if they haven't come to Litty Titty and they're not sure which one to come to, like I always book a good co-host, but me and Maverick by far like are super good co-hosts, and like he's the person I've booked the most to co-host that show, but it's because we banter so well. Like it's really hard to find another comedian who is like doing their own thing, but then you can like come together and like the banter is just really good and it makes that show great, you know?
Well, and a huge part of it too is like you guys are actual friends outside of just
that
being
helps.
stand-up.
Yeah,
and I feel like, and again, there's a million ways to do everything in this like art form, but like, I mean, you're not going to take away from a co-hosting show by making sure that both the co-hosts A actually like each other,
right,
and B are friends.
Yeah,
like you can throw any two talented people together,
yeah,
and then the show could just, or like at least that aspect could completely tank. If they just don't know each other, they don't like each other. Like, do you feel like that is a huge aspect to being able to make a good show like that?
Totally, yeah. And I mean, there's other people too that are like I'm friends with, but our styles are just different. Like maybe our conversational banter is fun, but for whatever reason the co-hosting is just off. Yeah. You know, so it's like it's a very specific thing. And like Maverick and I met because of comedy, but now we're just friends, you know? So like I think that maybe is like a sign too of like if you meet someone because of comedy and then you just end up being friends with them regardless, like he's going to be my friend whether we stick to comedy or not, you know? Like if you meet someone that's like that, then it's like, okay, you're probably going to be either at least good co-producers together. Like maybe your banter, your co-hosting might not work still, but like you would make a good team somehow, you know, like you be the face, I'll promote the show or like whatever, like it. Yeah. But I do think like I couldn't co-host with someone I didn't like. Are you kidding me? Like you hear about some of those TV shows where it's like, oh, so-and-so, they hated each other the whole time they shot this beloved thing. And you're like, what the hell? Like, how did you work like that for a decade? Maybe that's a personal boundary though. Like my mental, like I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah. Well, money talks. Money's influential. It's one of those things where it's like people say, oh, I would never do whatever for however much money. I'm like, okay, well, how much money have you seen in one place?
That's true. Do you know the reality of seeing that number in your bank account?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a more applicable analogy for today because like money's not real. But you know, it's
no,
not.
but I mean like that. That's like how people have to visualize it though. Like
you've never like
seen a stack of cash like that.
Yeah, and like you've never like I mean I could just speak for me. You know, I've never seen thousands of dollars in my bank account unless it was my debt. Like, you know, like that's the number that I see where I go, wow, I wish that was a positive number. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, if you throw somebody $100,000 and say, hey, shoot 4 episodes with this dickhead, you don't like him, but here's $100,000 up front and there's 5 on the back end.
If it's 4 episodes, I'll probably do it. Let's be honest. If anyone out there, as long as I have a bodyguard around.
I meant to ask you this in the beginning. What got you into theater in the first place?
Oh, I started when I was a kid. Like,
you're a theater kid?
Yeah, like when I was really little, I wanted to be Shania Twain when I grew up. I wanted to be her. And then, my best friend, like when I was a little kid was always just like the like diva, like I want to be an actress and stuff. So when we were in 6th grade, she talked me into going to auditions at the high school because they needed a couple younger actors. They were doing A Christmas Story as like one of their plays. And so they wanted to like cast a couple middle schoolers.
Yeah.
And so her and I went, and I was so scared. Like, I was very excited. And then as soon as I talked my mom into driving me to the auditions, I was like trying to talk her out of it. I was like, Mom, I don't want to do this. This is scary. She was like, no, you said you really want to do it. Like, let's just go. And she brought me there, and I walked into the audition room, and it's just all these like high schoolers. And I'm like, they're so tall. You know, I'm like freaking out. I'm like,
How old are you again?
I was in 6th grade.
6th grade. Jesus Christ.
And so I go, and like we're sitting in the back of the audition room, and I like almost started crying. And my mom has never made me stick to something that I didn't want to do, but I had been begging her to take me to these auditions, and so she was like, no, I think you really want to do this. You're just scared because you have to do it in front of people. And so I was like, whatever. And long story short, I got this like little role in the play. So like as a middle schooler, I got to be in the high school play. And then every year of middle school, I ended up being in the high school play. Like they ended up needing, you know, and so by the time I got to high school, I was already like the theater directors very much knew me. I got to go to the Fringe Festival going into my freshman year of high school because the high school troupe was invited to perform at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And I, as a middle schooler, met the qualifications to be invited because I had participated in 3 extracurricular plays already. And so they invited me. Like I was coming in as a freshman. So I literally got to go like be in the Fringe Festival and like perform in Scotland.
That's
as I got into high school. So I got very, very lucky. Like I was total theater nerd. Like I quit volleyball to focus on theater and like.
Well, that's a good experience to have.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like we're talking, I was president of the theater troupe my senior year. Like I was very involved.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
And like, you know, your mom, pushing, probably at some points, literally pushing you to go through that situation.
Yeah.
So, like, credit where it's due. Like, me and my mom, we don't have a relationship. But when I was younger, when I was 14, I went to military school down in Roswell. And I wanted to go. And I remember, I don't think I've ever told this fucking story before.
You went to military school in Roswell?
I did.
That's a fucked sentence, dude. They're like, we're fighting both types of aliens down here.
That was the running joke.
That's crazy. How did I know? I've never met someone from Roswell. I just knew it.
Yeah. It was a time down there. And I spent 6 years down there, and I fucking loved it. A lot of my friends didn't, but I loved it. And so the very first night I was there, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. This is stupid. I don't want to be here.
Right.
It is hotter. It was like the end of July in Roswell.
No.
It was like and it was the hottest summer, I think, in the last 10 years at the time.
Right.
So it was like 111, 113 during the day, cooled down to 98, 99 at night. Oh, and our ACs didn't work in our rooms.
Oh, God. I was going to say that's about how last summer was here temp-wise, but we had AC.
Yeah, we were dying. And so that first time I was like, you know what? This is stupid. And we were supposed to give up our cell phones. And of course, because I'm a goody two-shoes 14-year-old, I did.
Right.
But my roommate didn't. And I was like, hey, man, can I borrow your phone? I'm calling my mother. This is dumb. And she's like, nope, you're staying. I already paid the money. Deal with it. And I was like, sounds good. And that was like, I think about that moment, especially a lot more now.
Right.
And it's because I'm like doing new stuff with my life, like namely stand up. But I think about that now, like, oh, like that had like a cascading effect.
You don't
through
realize
everything.
Yeah, you don't realize like the butterfly effect of one thing like that. Because I think about that a lot too with what I just said. Like, I mean, there were multiple things that I quit. Like I quit multiple sports. Like I was supposed to learn how to play piano and like literally quit before I even started. I was like on this wait list for some teacher and like
I had piano lessons and quit too.
Dude, my mom was so pissed. She was like, you were on this wait list for 6 months and she finally has a slot and now you don't want to do it. I'm like, ah. But I mean, yeah, so like it's interesting that was the thing that she felt like, no, I need to make her do this. And yeah, I'm very thankful for that.
Obviously, you're like, you are a comedian. Like your life right now is stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
But with Austin being as huge as it is, has there ever been like a bug in the back of your head that's like, maybe I'll go to an audition, maybe I'll try this, maybe I'll try that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I don't think you have to do one or the other.
Yeah.
I've been very lucky. Like just my whole life, honestly, but like, especially with comedy, like I got to open for someone on a nationwide tour a year after I started stand up.
Who was it?
Jen Fulweiler. She lives here, but she was fairly new to stand up when I opened for her as well. She self-funded and booked the entire tour.
Damn.
And sold it out.
That's that Rothschild money. Holy shit.
No, not even. Like, she almost put her family into debt for it. She maxed out a couple credit cards, but she sold out the tour pretty much. And I'm talking like theaters from 150 to 1200. Like, we did huge stuff. And so it was really, really a cool experience. But like, I mostly kind of backed off from acting because, like I said, I was in Shitface Shakespeare when I started stand up, and I was going to keep doing both. And then Jen asked me to open the tour. So I like took a break from the Shakespeare troupe to like focus on that. And then when casting restarted in the Shakespeare troupe, they changed the scheduling of how they did it. It used to be we could just say what weekends we were available, and whatever cast was available would do it. We knew all the roles and stuff. And then they changed it to where it's like, no, you have to be available for the whole 6-week run. And since I was still touring and I had other stand-up stuff, I was like, I can't do this. And so I made the decision to just keep opening for Jen rather than audition for that round of Shitface Shakespeare. And I was like, I can always come back to this. And then COVID hit. We were in New York City. I did Jen's shows in New York City at the end of January.
Oh, shit.
And then our last show, and we're already seeing people walking around in masks, like January 2020. And my last show I did with her was like the end of February, I think in Columbus, Ohio. And I came back and like went on a little, like I had like brought my mom to see the Grand Canyon and shit, like for her birthday, beginning of March. And my mom and I flew back by ourselves from Phoenix Sky Harbor to Austin because it was March 8th and Austin shut down March 12th. And like, so it was just a weird thing where like I just made that decision because it made the logical sense. And then COVID hit and Shitface Shakespeare never came back. It's like they don't have a troupe here anymore.
Damn.
So like it still exists, but only in Boston and London. And so like it kind of seems like that was the choice I needed to make at the time. But since things have reopened, I mean, I've been shooting sketches with friends and like all that stuff. But I would so be open to like more formal auditions for something if I could do it with stand up, or like know that I could, you know, take a break to rehearse and perform for 6 to 8 weeks and then come right back to stand up.
You know, it's a bit of a tired subject, COVID, but because it was so significant, when things started, when did things start opening back up in Austin? Like where you're like, where comedy shows, like zoning into comedy shows.
I was actually looking through my text messages this morning to see if I had that picture of the piece of paper that says you're bringing up Ron White.
Yeah.
That I told you about.
Can we, are we allowed to tell that story?
We can talk about that, but I was looking for that photo and I found a screenshot of a lineup that Red Band texted me for one of the secret shows. And that was the only thing that had like Ron White written on it. But I looked at the date of the photo and it was January 2021.
Damn.
So I believe we were doing shows at the Vulcan at least in November of 2020. I think it was like October, November 2020 that we started doing shows at the Vulcan.
Okay. And that's like COVID testing, I'm assuming. Is there COVID testing going on, or is there like masks?
It was like recommended testing. Yeah, okay. It was, the seating was spaced and masks were still required at the beginning in the audience.
That makes sense.
But you could take them off at your table. You know, it was one of those.
Yeah, it was like, because the virus can't get you if you're taking a drink of your old fashioned, if you're eating your
literally,
food.
alcohol
but if you
kills
go to use
it.
the bathroom,
alcohol kills it, right?
So I do want to talk a bit about fitness and the role that plays in your life.
Okay.
But are we allowed to tell the Ron White story? Are you allowed to tell the Ron?
I don't know why we wouldn't.
I love that fucking story. Hearing that last night.
Yeah, I forget that this happened sometimes because it's just like. So I've been very lucky. I was very lucky, like early on when everyone was moving here, like I was helping out at the Vulcan and stuff. When Red Band and Tony and all of them started moving here.
Casual name
Joe,
drops.
obviously.
Casual name drops. Jesus Christ.
And so, you know, Red Band very quickly wanted to start doing his secret show at Vulcan. I think what happened was Tony Hinchcliffe was booked there to headline first, and then he told everyone else, like, hey, this is actually a pretty cool venue. And so Red Band was like, well, I want to do secret show there. So they started doing it every Thursday at Vulcan. And
what time frame is this ish?
This is the November 2020 time period. And yeah, and so I got lucky to like get booked on a couple of them. Like I got to do Secret Show several times, and you know, I was like freaking out a little bit. Like Red Band gave me a spot. This is so cool. And obviously I was opening, and it was not very good, but like whatever. Like it was fun, and I was happy, like so happy. And yeah, I was in the green room the night that Joe and Ron showed up, and Ron wanted to break his retirement, and so. Like I literally opened the Secret Show and was like, you know, kind of like, thank God my set's over. Like everyone on here is so much better than me. I was very nervous. Like I went and sat in the green room and kind of just was like talking to whoever. And then, yeah, they like Ron and his girlfriend and Joe walked in, and like Red Band, you know, obviously was like, yeah, that's all good to see you and stuff. And Joe's like, I think he wants to do a spot and stuff. And Red Band's like, dude, if you want to do a spot, you can do a spot. And so, you know, Ron's like, let's do it. And so Red Band like tears a piece of paper out of his notebook and writes, you're bringing up Ron White. And he gives me the piece of paper, and he's like, hey, can you run and give this to Dustin Ibarra, who was on stage at the time? We're switching the order so Ron can go up like right now. And I was like, yeah. And so I like take this little like triangle of paper that says that, and I run down to the stage, and I'm waiting for Dustin to do his little thing about like, thanks, you know, that was my set, we're ready to bring up your next comic. And as he's doing that, his back is to me, and I'm walking up the stairs to like hand him the note, and he turns around and like thinks I'm about to punch him. It was just so funny. He was like, I thought you were attacking me. And then, yeah, I hand him the sheet of paper, and he reads it, and he's like, oh, thanks, cool, that's great, that's way better than being attacked, or something like that, you know, like, but yeah, then he read the paper, and Ron went up, and it was one of the best sets I've ever seen in my life. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Like, it was so surreal. I literally ran back upstairs and sat against the railing and just watched Ron White.
You know, there's gonna be, because obviously the Comedy Store documentary came out, and it was very good. In about 20 to 25 years, there's going to be a documentary. There's going to be something that talks about the comedy boom in Austin.
Yeah.
And there are key moments that are going to get highlighted, and that's one of them.
I know.
It has to be.
It's crazy.
Because now it went from, as far as, and again, this is like the definition of third-hand information, because I listened to it on the fucking Joe Rogan Experience. But like, it went from Ron should do comedy again, breaks retirement, starts doing spots at Vulcan, randomly shows up at Kill Tony every now and again. Mothership opens up, he's doing stuff there, and now he's back on tour.
Yeah.
As far as I know, he's on a tour
and he's
now.
sober too.
And he's sober.
He got sober, yeah.
And he looks healthy.
He looks great.
Ever.
Yeah.
That's
And
insane.
he kills all the time. I mean, like, he's one of my favorite comics to watch of all time. It's just insane. Like, he just talks you into a joke. And that's just how he is. Like, that's literally how he is if you meet him, too. Like, you're just talking to him, and then he's telling you just something that sounds like a side comment, and it's the funniest thing you've ever fucking heard in your life. And it's like, and to be clear, I'm not like super close with any of these people. I've just worked with them before, but like that's what my impression was like when I was in the green room with him. I was like, this is hilarious. Like, you literally just are like that.
I get the impression that it's Southern hospitality that happens to be the funniest thing you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So, like I said, I do want to talk about fitness. One thing I'm interested about is, you know, the lifestyle of being a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
Late nights.
Yeah.
Sometimes late nights mixed with early mornings, so not a lot of sleep, a lot of booze, a lot of just extracurriculars, let's put it that way, and not the healthiest food is around.
Right.
I mean, last night we got fucking 3:30 a.m., whatever the fuck.
Shawarma. I consider that kind of healthy, because it is, for me at least, it's just meat and rice and veggies. Yeah. Like, I just get the rice plates. So I'm like, okay, this is way better than most of the shit I could be getting right now. Like, Diddy Dog. We didn't need to go get Diddy Dogs, you know what I mean? Like,
so how do you, because you're in great shape.
Thank you.
How do you like keep yourself like functioning that way?
Well, and
this is again very selfish question, because I looked at myself in the mirror a couple of days. I was like, man, stand-up comedy is setting in. I need to go back to the gym.
Well,
fuck.
You saw a very rare occasion of Allison drinking last night. Oh shit, Allison drinks whiskey. I was sipping on whiskey last night, but I rarely drink, and honestly, I think that's my main cheat code in terms of whether we're doing stand-up or not. Like, almost everyone drinks, and that is like the easiest and the hardest thing to do to just help yourself stay healthy. Like, alcohol really has no health benefits at all. Even the 1 glass of wine a week that they were trying to sell us, there is no...
People saying, oh, I drink red wine for the antioxidants. Like, dude, yeah, and
If you're drinking it for the resveratrol, you need to drink literally so much you would die long before you got the resveratrol. Like, that's the ingredient they're trying to get. It's
That is a huge word I've never heard. That's a big syllable word.
Sorry, nutrition. We have resveratrol here, actually. Come get it. But yeah, like, yeah. So anyway, the not drinking thing, in my opinion, is the easiest way to... If you're currently drinking, cut it out and lose weight, or just avoid it to prevent the weight gain. Because not only is it the extra calories thing that everyone's thinking about, there's a cascade of inflammation that happens every time you drink alcohol, and it damages your liver. So like, if your liver's fucked up, I compare your liver to like the air filter in your house. It's like if your main air filter in your house is fucked up, then the air ducts are going to start getting dusty, and then the air is going to get dusty, right? If the filter is unclean, it can't keep filtering the new shit that's coming through, right? So your liver is like your main body filter, and once that is like chocked full of toxins, they just start being more in your bloodstream rather than being excreted properly. So like,
Okay.
like alcohol and all that stuff just really like toxifies your liver and makes it harder to get rid of all the stuff. So once you start that, then the next place to store toxins is your fat. And so then if you're gaining fat from the calories of the alcohol and then your liver is backed up, we're going to put the toxins somewhere else, and then it's harder to lose that fat.
Oh, shit.
It's like this, all of the systems affect each other. And so...
See, and it makes sense when it's explained that way.
Yeah.
But I've never had that. Like, for instance, right? That's why I fucking love podcasting. I'm getting this, like, because I like reading, but, like, I like reading shit that I enjoy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Nonfiction is not that fun.
Yeah, the only nonfiction I like is, like, history, and then I like comic books. Like, that's my thing. And so this is, like, a secondhand education. I fucking love it. Anyway, like, shit like that, getting explained like that, I think it's really important. Like, a few months ago, I had no idea how addiction even worked. The fact that, like, the receptors, like,
the dopamine,
grow,
yeah,
and then you can't lose receptors, you only gain receptors. Like, so, okay, so is it true then that, let's say, like, an average night of drinking, not going like overboard, and so you have like 3 or 4 drinks, whatever your choice is. I've heard that it takes 3 days for your liver to really process all of that and get it out of your body. Is that generally true?
I don't know. I've never heard that.
Okay.
I think it does depend on the person and how well their liver's functioning, and probably how much other shit it's dealing with.
Right.
Like, that's the thing, is people will ask me about like health and fitness stuff. So like, going to like a broader sense, like I really like to talk about stress and toxic load. So it's like load, but like I said toxic load one time, and someone was like, I got one of those last night, and I was like, God damn it. But
You should go to a clinic.
Yeah, seriously, get that checked. But it's like the amount of stress that you're handling and the amount of toxins that you're handling matter, because let's say you take someone who is overweight, working over full time, has 2 kids, sleeping 5 hours a night because of all of that, shitty diet. Those are a lot of stressors. And those are a lot of different types of stressors I just mentioned. I mentioned a physical one. I mentioned a emotional one, a mental one. Like, let's say, yeah, they're working too much and they're not making enough. Financial stress. You know, there's all of these different stressors. And then that person wants to go to a CrossFit class after work because they need to lose weight. No, your body is intaking all of the different types of stressors and wearing all of them physically.
And are we talking about, like, this is due like high cortisol levels? Is this
what's it starts
going on
with high cortisol. So like, if you have all these different types of stressors coming in, your cortisol is probably firing too much. And when your cortisol fires too much, other hormones have to react opposite. It's always just this balance game of your hormones. So cortisol spikes up, your sex hormones drop, so your libido is going to go down. Oftentimes your hunger is affected. Either you're more hungry or less hungry. If you're too stressed, like if your cortisol is too high, you can't fall asleep. So it's that thing too, where it's like, I'm so stressed, I'm exhausted, but I can't fall asleep. It's because your cortisol is so high. You're physically exhausted.
Like you're in fight or flight, right?
But your brain can't shut down. So it's like, you'll see it. Like if someone is super stressed, that's why women stop having their period if they're super stressed. Their sex hormones are dampened. That's why men can't like get ED. That's why like you'll see people gain weight easier when they're stressed. Your body wants to hold on to it because it'll also view it as like maybe this person's starving and that's why they're stressed. Like your body looks at it in a very primordial sense. Like up until a few hundred years ago, our stressors were life and death. So the body reacts like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like your endocrine system just hasn't caught up with 21st century problems. It still thinks you're fighting fucking saber-toothed tigers and you're still living in a cave. And you still have to like make as many kids as possible, but only in the right environment.
Yeah.
And that type of shit.
Yes. And I think we are like people are finally starting to have the conversation about like, okay, we understand that our bodies don't know the difference, but like we can tell ourselves, like our self-talk matters a lot too.
But you can like talk yourself into being sick.
You can talk yourself into it and like out of like anxiety attacks and things like that, right? So it's like, yeah, you totally, it's like a very common thing in the health world. So if people listening to this like podcasts like that, I'm sorry if they've heard it before, but a lot of people in like this type of health space like to call disease dis-ease. Disease dis-ease. You are not at ease. Like it's literally in the word. So it's like something is out of whack and it really is stressors. Everything is called stress. And then again, toxins too. So like internal and external toxins. What are you taking in? What are you thinking? Internal would be like, what are you thinking? And then, you know, external is like smog and like what you're eating and like things like that. And it all just is like in my head a balancing game of how fast can my body detox and calm down versus what I'm putting into it. So it's like the last couple of weeks, like I'll be very honest with you, I've worked out like once a week. Like and everyone thinks I'm hitting the gym like 5-6 times a week. No, like max I'm hitting the gym 3 times a week. And it's because I figured out that if I work out lifting weights too much, my cortisol goes up, I gain fat.
Interesting.
I lose my cycle, like my sleep gets fucked. So like there's all those things and I've been on the road every weekend the last 6 weeks. So like all this traveling on the road, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. If I come home and I just feel physically tired, even if I didn't work out, I'm not going to starve myself. I'm not going to say I have to go work out. I'm going to go sleep and then I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll feel better. And if I don't, I'll just again eat good food, maybe go on a walk. Like I'm very much listen to your body about this now because like I had multiple types of eating disorders in college and after and like that is like the epitome of not listening to your body. You learn how to block that out. And I think most people actually have blocked that out without meaning to. And so, you know, just actually like think about it. Like if I do this, how does it make me feel the next day? Interesting. I notice every time I eat a piece of bread, I sound like this the next day. Like, cool, maybe I'm allergic to gluten. Like there's patterns that you can start recognizing and getting more aware of your body that a lot of people just don't do. And I think that's like the more important thing, especially for women, honestly. Like dudes can kind of power through more. Like dudes generally can function better off of like less sleep. Like if they miss a night of sleep, they're generally better about it. Or like you guys can push through and not necessarily fuck your hormones as much if you work out when you're tired. Women really like get fucked if their stress is out of whack. And I think that's because you guys are on a 24-hour circadian rhythm and we're on a monthly cycle. Like, you know how when you wake up every morning, like you have a general like daily energy curve, like you could describe your daily energy curve pretty much every day. It's the same. Women, I compare that to like the energy curve that you go through during the day. That's what we're going through over 30 days. So like day 1 is like when your period starts, you tend to be like getting up in the morning, kind of like energizing. Ovulation is when you're like peak energy. You guys' energy peaks around 12 to 2 every day. That's the best time for men to work out. That's when your testosterone's highest. And then it starts to dip throughout the day and you get into the evening and it's time for bed, right? She starts PMSing. She's exhausted. She's cranky. Time to go to sleep for a little bit, you know? But yeah.
That's okay. That's a
Sorry,
lot.
That was a lot of ranting.
No, that was great. No, that was fucking fantastic. Okay. So for you, like, do you do you get blood work done a lot? Do you get hormones checked? Like,
So I used to work at the clinic that we're shooting in. So they've done my blood work. I think I should probably get some blood work done. But I would do it like once a year or once every other year. But it's also like I felt pretty good most of the time. So I didn't feel like I needed to get it done regularly. But even the thing, like, there's a lot of doctors' offices will just do basic blood work. And if you're like coming to a doctor that does that, saying, I feel shitty, can you test this for me? Or I feel shitty, can you just test me for whatever it might be? And they come back and they're like, your levels are normal. That's all you're going to get from that doctor. You're not going to get help. They're not going to help you feel better.
That's literally what happened with me in the VA. So I feel
yes,
that.
yeah. So, and like I hate the healthcare system, but like, so clinics like this started popping up in Austin where it's like, you can get the most extensive blood work I've ever seen done. Like, even thyroid panels, like there's usually 2 tests ordered at a normal doctor's club. Here, it's like, there's like 6 or 7 tests that they'll order for your thyroid. So like very, very specific. And oftentimes if a normal doctor tells you like your levels are normal, sorry, you feel shitty, but you just feel shitty. Here, they can do a more in-depth analysis, or just a clinic like this, they can do more in-depth and be like, oh no, like those numbers are normal, but this one's fucked up and it's affecting this.
Well, like, and that's important because even with like in the normal range, and obviously I can only speak from the male perspective because I had to go get my my testosterone checked because I'd come back from a deployment and I was still feeling shitty.
Yeah.
And I felt shitty like basically my whole life. A lot of like low energy stuff, a lot of mental stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to get my blood checked. I have health care with the VA now. Let's see what happens. And when I first gotten it checked, my test levels were at like 225.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
They're like, you're not 60.
Yeah. They're like, what the fuck is going on? Come back in 3 weeks when we redo it.
Yeah.
Come back later, it drops to 185. And they were like, and they like kept like verbally screening me for stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, dude, listen, we asked you beforehand. If you tell us you're addicted to opiates, we're not gonna call the cops on you.
Yeah, they would literally.
And I was like, yo, I'm not addicted to shit. And this is also like the highest or like the best shape I've ever been in my life. This is like coming out of a physique competition I was doing.
Yeah.
So I was eating great, working
Oh, it's
because
of the physique competition, though, that dropped your test.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that even after my body started recovering, they kept doing my blood work, and it kept dropping. And they're like, okay, this doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
That was the first thought, right?
Yeah.
And my buddy who had coached me, he was like, yeah, don't get your blood work done right now. Like, let a couple of weeks go by.
Yeah.
Let your body reset, get some body fat on you.
Yeah.
And then do it. And it was, I think the last time I got tested at that time, it was at 175, 178 or some shit. And they're like, all right, we're going to start testosterone. Flash forward, the reason I bring this story up is they get me up to, I want to say like 400, 425 around there, which is like in the normal range.
But you still felt.
Yeah, but at the time, I'm a 25-year-old guy.
Yeah.
I should be at like 800.
I was going to say, like, normal testosterone at that time is, like 800 to 1200 or something. Yeah, like. Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, well, if you guys aren't going to fucking help me, I'll go find other methods.
Right.
And I did find other methods.
Right.
And I had zero, and I still do, right? Zero aspirations of being I think the right term is super therapeutic.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that. I see all the health risks and not a lot of benefit.
Right.
And it's just like, I love, like, bodybuilding is my favorite sport.
Yeah.
I love watching it. I love learning about it. But, like, I don't want to be a part of it anymore.
Yeah.
I did the one thing. I was like, all right, I've done it. Checked it off.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I have no interest to be fucking super... And I don't even think I have the genetic makeup to be super... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, for a small period of time, I managed to get my levels up to 815.
Nice.
And motherfucker, I
felt good?
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so, like, right now that, like, I've kind of got my money situation back together a little bit better, and I have a decent job, might have a really cool one coming up in a little bit, and now I have a little bit of extra money running around. I'm like, okay, because we don't have clinics like this in Albuquerque.
Right.
But like, there's like Merrick Health Online and shit like that that's reputable.
Yeah.
And I still need to do a lot more research and shit. But I would like to find a clinic like this that's at least online.
They do telemedicine.
Well, I might have. And this isn't a fucking audible ad, by the way.
This is not an ad for the place. We're literally just using their podcast studio.
I'm very thankful for. And what's the full name of the studio?
This
again?
is the Nurse Doza Clinic, and they have a supplement line called MSW Nutrition. But both of those will come up if you search either one of those here. Yeah.
And it is Austin, Texas, so they have a podcast room.
Yeah. How do you health is their podcast. Yeah.
But that is the best I've ever felt. And I was like, oh shit, like all my, like the only thing that was high was my, what the fuck was it? It was my free test was a little bit high.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything was perfect. Like whatever, I forget the actual nomenclature for it, but it's basically like what leads to thick blood. Even that was was at a the hematocrit. The hematocrit was at a perfect level. Test levels were great.
I was trying to remember the test name too. Yeah.
My estrogen levels were perfectly fine.
Nice.
I was like, I'm sleeping better, and I wasn't even smoking yet at the time. I was like, I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling better. Like this is fun times.
Yeah.
But then I fucked around, and the VA was like, hey man, I remember getting the phone call. Like, hey, give us a call back. I come call. Hey, why are your test levels at 800? We're not giving you that much. And I was like, well, sorry. They were nice to me, but I was real with them. I was like, this is what I'm doing, because you guys didn't fucking help me.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we can't continue to treat you if you're gonna do this. And I was like, that's fair.
Yeah.
So that's the impasse that I'm at now.
Yeah.
But so I love the fact, and I don't understand the online hate. I really don't. I see it
for testosterone therapy.
For hormone clinics that are popping up now, like good ones that are popping up.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we have the science now. To figure out what is wrong with our bodies at such a microscopic level.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's because it's profitable to keep people sick. I mean, not to get like conspiratorial, but like the main healthcare system really does feel like that. It's like we're not interested in solutions, we're interested in treatments, ongoing treatments.
It's the biggest subscription. This might be a bad way to reduce it, but it is the biggest subscription service outside of rent. Everything now is subscription based. You
know that general care practitioners would like not exist if we didn't have if we didn't have health insurance.
Explain.
Like, think about how you get treated at a doctor. You go to a general care doctor first because your insurance covers it. And then what happens 9 times out of 10, unless you have a very basic cold or flu? Referral, right? They have to refer you to the specialist. Crazy thought. What if we just went to see the specialist? My chest hurts. Maybe something's wrong with my heart. I think I'm going to call the cardiologist. Why do I have to call a general practitioner, have my insurance give him however the fuck much he's charging, just so he can say, yeah, no, I think she's right. I think the chest pain means she has a heart problem. She has permission to go see the cardiologist now. And then my insurance will only cover the one that doctor likes. They're all paying each other. Like, it's so fucked.
Yeah, the whole what's the term for it? Having it not in system, having
in network.
In network. That's the biggest bullshit.
So I'm like pissed because I'm going through this right now. I gave myself a nice little hernia from an ab wheel. And
I had hernia surgery a year ago this month.
Was it this type of like
the umbilical? Yep.
I have an umbilical and whatever the fucking one on your abs. And I didn't know that I had the umbilical one. Like the umbilical one's right on your belly button. I didn't know I had that. I've always just had a flat belly button, and I didn't have insurance last year, so I just went straight to the hernia specialist, because if you're paying out of pocket, they charge you way less, and you don't have to go to a general practitioner first. You just walk into the specialist. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to pay out of pocket to just get this confirmation before I figure out what to do. And so I went in, and I was telling her, like, I think I have a hernia, and so I lift up my shirt to show her, and she goes straight for my belly button, and she goes, I see it. And I was like, no. It's the bump up here that's the hernia. And she goes, oh yeah, that's one too, but your belly button's also herniated.
Oh no.
Dude, my belly buttons look like that my entire life. And she was like, oh, well, your pediatric, like, missed it. Like, your pediatric physician missed it. Like, they should have caught that.
So was it the type of, not to get like too like TMI with it, but like the umbilical hernia that you had, did it cause you pain?
I'm not in pain. Okay. I still have them.
Was it because, like, I don't know if have you done like a ultrasound or anything like that to figure out what's going on? So because with mine, it didn't cause me pain. It caused me discomfort.
Interesting.
And it caused me like every so often I get a weird soreness and like a tightness there. You know what I mean? And what would happen is, well, what did happen is during my physique competition, I'm shredding down all that fucking body fat.
Oh, geez.
I'm starting to see it for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
what is that?
And it's like a little pouch, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is this? And my girlfriend at the time, she was like, you should get that checked out. And I was like, I will do that later.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to fuck this up.
Yeah.
And so, sure enough, I go get it checked out and they do an ultrasound. I guess what had happened is when the abdominal wall tore, instead of the intestine filling it in, it was fat.
Yeah, and that's the good case scenario.
Exactly.
You want that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when fat filled the pouch, it stopped basically pain from happening. It was just the discomfort of that fat trying to get sucked back out.
That must be what it is. Yeah. Because, like, with mine, too, like, it was very similar. Like, I was dating a nurse at the time, actually. And I've had this weird bump on my stomach for a long time. But I also, like, I got leaner over the last 2 years, I would say. And this hernia probably happened, like, a year ago or something. And it was so small for so long. I literally just thought as I was leaning down, I was like, oh, that's one of my abs or something. Like, because it's on top of one. So I was like, oh,
shit.
cool, it's an ab. And then I was doing like those standing side crunch weightlift things like at the gym one day. And I'm like, why is there this thing? Like, that's clearly not a muscle. Right. And I was hoping it was just like a little like fat abscess or something. And so I literally go over to his house and I'm like, hey, first impressions. Just wondering, what do you think this is? And I just go like that. And he goes, oh no, you have a hernia. And I was like, fuck. Fuck. Google told me that too. And I didn't want it to be true. So yeah, I mean, that was, he was the one that told me like what specialists to go to and stuff. So I was happy that I like had that connection. But like, yeah, now I'm like literally in the process of I need to find a GP that will refer me to the surgeon that I want.
So I was going to say, are you going to end up getting it repaired and shit like that?
Yeah, I mean, if I have two, it's like, let's get a twofer. let's get a 2-for-1. You're cutting me open. Let's get them both fixed.
Yeah, it's not to give you the fucking heebie-jeebies or anything, but that recovery is a bitch.
I heard it sucks. I'm a little like, so I've talked to people that had like just the ab one, like the external one, and they said it was like a 2-month recovery, which is not that bad, but like umbilical sounds like it would suck.
Yeah, the umbilical one fucking sucks. Like, I mean, obviously the sitting down and standing up shit sucks ass, but just to be completely honest, going to the bathroom is awful.
Really?
It is the worst fucking thing I've ever like.
How long was your recovery?
So to get out of pain every day, about a month and a half.
Jeez.
Yeah, about a month to a month and a half. And they did the type of surgery, and I think I'll always like have the scars for it, but like they did the type of surgery where they made an incision here, and here.
Laparoscopic?
Yeah, they have like little like robots.
Robots.
That go in and do the
That's
thing.
what they offered me too.
Yeah, and it's the most least invasive thing, and like now the scars are like they're like tiny,
yeah.
But like fuck, especially this one.
Yeah,
and I made the mistake of when I was getting driven home by my ex that I let the seatbelt rest on it. So then and because like the fentanyl that they given me to numb the pain, that was still like going through my body and shit, like hours after I got out of the operating room. But like as we were getting back to our place, and I took the seatbelt off, I was like, oh, and I waddled my way to the bathroom, and I went like this, and it's just like a red and purple fucking thing, right? So like, oh, that sucks. So yeah, I'd say like out of pain about a month and a half, but like I'm still not back in. I haven't gone to the gym like a month because I've been lazy as shit, and I also got sick like 3 weeks ago. But getting myself and like working back up to like just being mobile and shit. It's been a year. I'm not back at my strength levels or like mobility levels at all. And then the the real bitch of it was when I was getting like checked out and like doing this is what's gonna happen. This is what the recovery's gonna look like. They're like, maybe like 6 to 8 weeks back in the gym, maybe 6 months you'll be like deadlifting again and all type of. I was like, oh, that's
that's fine. Yeah,
not bad. I get out of the operating room and very sweet lady, very, very sweet nurse. She hits me with some fentanyl. I'm loopy out of my fucking mind, and I'm like, I just can't wait to go back to the gym. I love deadlifting. That's my
Me
shit.
too. That's my favorite lift.
That's my shit. And
I've been so pissed. I made myself stop powerlifting when I found out they were hernias so they didn't get worse.
Yeah.
And I'm so fucking mad I can't do
and
it
for
right
everyone
now.
listening, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Stop doing your crunches and your powerlifting if you find out you have a hernia.
And I was like, I can't wait to go back to the deadlifts in a few months. And she goes, oh, sweetie. And whenever, a nice, sweet, middle-aged black nurse tells you, oh, sweetie, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
And she got to give me some real Southern hospitality. And she's like, hey, sweetie, you won't be deadlifting for like 2 years. And I was like, ugh.
No way.
And honestly, a year later, I'm starting to believe
You agree with her. That's crazy.
Because I got to the point now where like this was maybe March-ish. I was doing 225 for reps.
Yeah.
And it felt clean. It felt good. Obviously wearing a fucking weightlifting belt like no other. But because you get liberal with it. I'm clean with 2 plates. You just don't wear a belt. You should wear a belt.
I go back and forth on the belt.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's now that I will always wear a belt because of the hernia issues.
That helps to prevent the hernia from popping back out for sure.
Exactly. And those felt good. I was doing like 3 sets of 5 and that felt great, but like I'm not touching the 4s anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I know, and I'm accepting that. You know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is. I'm glad I was able to even get it repaired in the first place.
Right.
I'm glad that I still have a little bit of a bump from where the mesh is at. And
I was going to ask if you got mesh. Okay. Yeah. I'm wondering if that affected your recovery too.
Well, apparently, so the way they explained it to me is there was 2 ways to do it. I forget what the first way was, but basically you have like you have a 70% success rate.
Yeah.
So you have like a 30% chance of it tearing open again in the first year, which is insane to me.
In the first year?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Which is insane to me. But then they're like, look, but the recovery's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Or you could do the mesh, where
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot longer of a process, but if you let it heal, they're like,
let it heal.
Yeah, it's the 2 things. You have to let it heal and don't get fat. And I was like, I wasn't going to get fat, but like, I liked having the option on the table.
You're like, I can't get how can I not get fat? I can't fucking deadlift.
Yeah, right. And see, if I do get fat, I just call myself a power lifter and I'll be okay.
Yeah, there you go.
But
that's the cheat code.
But yeah, they're like, this is the longer, more painful method, but this will pay off in the long run. And then I ended up getting the mesh and shit like that. But, again, I'm just glad I was able to have it done and get it repaired and shit like that. So I want to end on this note because you mentioned a little bit earlier that you don't train a ton. Also, your schedule's been super hectic.
Yeah, I was like, I realized I didn't answer your question actually as we dove into this.
But you're eating really well.
That's
and
the thing.
And the big thing is no booze. So
no booze.
We covered that.
Eat your food. No booze. And I really do, I obviously eat out quite often, especially on the road. I'm not grocery shopping on the road.
Yeah.
I can't bring a cooler of shit sometimes. Sometimes you can, but not on the plane or whatever, So yeah, for me, it's not being able to eat gluten very much helps because I can't even be tempted by most of the stuff people are tempted by. Honestly, a lot of those things sound gross to me now. I don't want to eat fried food, and it's because I just feel so terrible after I eat gluten. It does not sound appealing to me anymore.
Pasta doesn't do it for you anymore.
I love pasta, but I will Bonza is great for me. And I know we were joking about Bonza. Bonza was bad a few years ago. It's chickpea pasta, but it's it's actually good now. I cook that shit regularly. I love pasta. My mom, that was probably, Italian food was probably the main food my mom cooked growing up. But none of that shit is because I just feel so shitty afterwards. Right. And so, I just try to stick to the healthy shit, meat, rice, veggies, whatever. I will be very honest. I have eaten so many bunless burgers with fries. That's my road treat. If I think I ate that 4 or 5 nights in the row in the Midwest because that's all I could find.
You're experiencing, I would imagine, with the amount of if you are eating bread and shit like that. Is the main issue feel inflammation?
Oh no, I made the joke right now I'm getting over a pretty bad allergy attack that I just had a show in Corpus on Friday, Corpus Christi. We call it the Corpus crud in the air there. As we drove in, I started sounding like this and I could not stop blowing my nose. But when when I eat gluten, usually what happens is I get flu symptoms or I get like severe allergy symptoms. So like, actually I mentioned to you, I got to do Holtzman's podcast, his Dead Air podcast when he did it. It's me and Jason Rouse. It's episode 50. And I say that because
Another casual name drop.
I say that just because I sound exactly like this on that episode where literally I was freaking out. I was in Red Band's house. We're recording upstairs with Holtzman and Jason Rouse and Red Band at the table. And I sound like this. Like Red Band had texted me to do the show. And I said, yeah, but I lost my voice from eating a plate of pasta last week. And he was like, huh? And I was like, I promise it's not COVID. I'll be there. And so I go there and I sound like this. And they're like, yeah, you do sound like shit. And like the comments are like, she has COVID for sure. You know, because it's like 2021 when we shot the podcast. But in the middle of the podcast, I left at one point because I got a coughing attack. But it literally is like, this is what happens when I eat gluten.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, I'm lucky if it's just like a bad time on the toilet for a day. Like that's like the best case scenario. Like normally I sound like I'm sick. Yeah.
Fuck. Are you like, do you get into the minutia of like counting calories and counting macros?
Not anymore.
No.
I used to count macros. I was into bodybuilding and stuff in college too, but I also had a nice little eating disorder mixed in. So it's like those two go very hand in hand. Like a lot of people don't realize it. It usually goes eating disorder to bodybuilding or bodybuilding to eating disorder. Like
well, and then
at least for the women, they usually go from eating disorder to bodybuilding because they think it's the healthy thing, and bodybuilding is very much not healthy.
No, yeah, I mean the people on stage, they look amazing for what they're achieving, but they are the most unhealthy they've ever fucking been. And you sprinkle social media on top of that, like when the Facebook whistleblower shit was coming out, like 3 years ago. The lady that was the whistleblower, she had brought documents where Meta, I guess, if you want to be proper about it, so it covers everything.
Right.
Meta had statistics, like analytics about, hey, we are finding spikes in anorexia in women between the ages of 13, I think it's like 13 and 25, 26,
yeah.
around that was their initial demographic. And they were like, we can actually track how we're affecting it, and we're going to do shit about it.
Yeah, no, I tell people this all the time. When I first got an Instagram account, I was a senior in high school, so it was 2013. And I pretty quickly like fell into like finding some of the like healthy food and like fitness Instagrams. Like that was when I was first getting like myself into like working out on my own. Cause like when I quit volleyball, my dad always had me work out with him, but I knew I was going to go to college. So I was like, I need to like get on my own little workout shit just to stay healthy and stuff. And I had self-esteem things happening too. There might have been a boy involved that cheated on me that made me sad. But like, you know, there's that. It was just the perfect pull. I get on Instagram, I'm looking up healthy recipes or whatever, and it very easily led you algorithmically to the anorexia promotion. And at the time, hashtag Anna, hashtag anorexia, hashtag Anna quotes, and anything that was hashtag ANA and then another word, it was all related to anorexia, and it was all girls encouraging each other to stop eating. And
it was be like real.
And it was all like, nothing tastes as good as being skinny feels.
I was going to say, like,
shit
yeah,
like
let's
that.
get specific with it, right? I know we have like 10 minutes, but like, so there's no question about it. Because I mean, I feel like it gets flaunted around and it gets kind of talked about offhand, but like legitimately promoting the lifestyle of starving yourself. That is what you saw and were highly encouraged to do.
Yeah.
And again, because what, you're 17, 18 at this point?
Yeah. And I was like heartbroken by this guy who left me for a girl that was bodybuilding.
Jesus.
So Christ. It's like, you know.
It's a perfect storm.
Perfect storm. But like, yeah. So yeah, that social media has such an impact. And even like as someone who like thinks they're smart at whatever age they're at, like you think you're like very self-aware and smart and like I'm not getting affected by that. You're being affected by what you're consuming, you know?
The best psyop is the one you agree with.
Yeah, that's a really good quote. Yeah, that's exactly. And yeah, so anyway, my psyop is, you know, to close the loop on like the question of like balancing health and comedy too. It's just like, do what you can to keep your body healthy first and then work on fitness. Like, I really think that's the thing that people aren't focusing on enough. Like, coming back to the stress and toxin stuff, it's like, why are you trying to break a PR at CrossFit when you're not sleeping enough? Your body only recovers when you're asleep. if you're not sleeping enough, any benefits you'd be getting from that workout are trash.
The best thing
and they're actually negatives.
The best way I've heard sleep put is that if sleep could be like the benefits of an 8 hour, however much sleep, like 7.5 to 9 hours. If that benefit of sleep could be put into a pill or an intramuscular injection, it would be banned by every performance agency. Yeah, because of how beneficial it can be.
I know some stats. I used to work for a sleep doctor. One night of less than optimal sleep increases your hunger hormones by 30%. So that's why if you don't sleep enough, you often wake up hungry the next day. It drops your testosterone by 30%. One night of poor sleep.
Fuck.
Drops your testosterone by 30% the next day.
Oh,
and I believe it also raises your cortisol around 30%, or it has like another similar effect to raising your cortisol. But yeah, it's crazy. And like, I mean, not to get too much into it, but my own hormonal issues after the eating disorder stuff was resolved, we figured out I had undiagnosed PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome. It basically makes your periods hell and like irregular. And I had been put on birth control at like 16 because I had acne. And so I just was always on it. Yeah. Oh, it's a thing. Ask any woman. If she wasn't put on birth control because she was sexually active, it was because of acne or to regulate her cycle.
I've heard the second one before.
Yeah. But so no one knew anything was wrong because I was on the pill. So I was regular. And I started working here and finding out that the pill is not that great for you. And also noticing that like, I kind of felt fucking insane on it. Like the week that I would take off from the pill, I felt like my anxiety was way different than when I was taking it. So I just cold turkey stopped taking the pill and didn't tell my doctors or anything. And I didn't get my period for 2 years. I just didn't have one. And like no one could figure it out. My OBGYN wouldn't help me. And so I worked with a hormone specialist. And they basically were like, you're too stressed. They made me stop working out. I had to focus on my sleep. And I was only allowed to walk as my workouts, and I had to like follow this diet and stuff to basically like regulate everything. But the main thing was like, stop stressing yourself and get enough sleep. You are literally burning both ends right now. If you just sleep more, it'll be fine. And I mean, you know, like I said, it was a pretty specific thing that I had to follow: diet, sleep, stress wise, but 6 months of following that into 2 years of nothing happening, and then 6 more months of that diet, and I got it back, and it's been fine since.
What the fuck? Okay, just again,
but sleep, yeah.
Real quick, so sleep was that was the foundation of which you built like your house of like resetting your body.
Resetting the hormones.
So what is happening? Just real quick, what is happening, or what are the cascading effects of like not having your period for 2 years? That is bananas to me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I even like realized it. I think like this might sound gross to a dude, but like at least for me, like when you get it, it kind of feels like it's a reset for your body. It's like you're like detoxing on a different way. Right?
Yeah. It's a certain extent.
It literally feels like I'm getting rid of all of the bullshit that I just dealt with for the last month. Like that's kind of the way I can describe it physically, other than just it sucks. But like, yeah, I mean, like, I'll show you pictures of myself during that time. I was very, like, I was puffier. Like, I was definitely heavier. And, like, my acne still wasn't super in control yet. I noticed, like, I carried the weight. Like, there's certain parts of the body that tell you, like, why you're, like, what hormones are off based on where you're carrying the weight. So, like, I had a lot of, like, arm and upper back fat, and that's usually a signifier of high estrogen. And not, like, the good kind. So yeah, it was just a lot of things. Like I didn't look like I worked out as much as I did. And I felt pretty healthy because like at that point I had cut gluten. So I was like, oh, I always have seasonal allergies because I'm eating gluten. I cut that. My seasonal allergies go down by like 80%. So I was like overall feeling better than I had, but like, it just felt like, I don't know. It just felt like I wasn't functioning properly. It just felt like I was carrying stuff I didn't need to be carrying, is really the best way to put it. And I was like, I was stopped up or something, but it didn't feel like I was like bloated. It just felt like systems aren't moving or something. I really don't know how to describe it other than that.
Well, the best analogy I've heard for the human body, especially when it comes to stuff like your hormone regulation and your diet, is like as you said a little bit earlier about, why are you trying to hit PRs if you don't sleep well or if you don't eat well or if you have all these like issues? It's like taking a car and the engine is at like, if there was a meter for that engine, I'm not a car guy, so this is the best way I can do it. If there was a meter for that engine and it's at 100%, but that engine's only working at 50% and you're expecting it to hit the gas and it's going to zoom.
Yep.
It's going to shake. It's going to sputter. It's probably going to fucking misfire and fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, why are you expecting this engine to work well when instead of putting the proper gasoline into it, you're literally pouring whiskey?
Yeah, exactly. I've said that many times, like in the words of the term, you are what you eat. Mm-hmm. What else do you think your new cells are being made of at a very baseline level? Like, I know they say you are what you eat is like, oh, if you eat unhealthy, you'll be unhealthy. If you eat healthy, you'll be healthy. But like, no, like the chemical makeup of your cells is built by the things you're consuming. What else would it be? You are constantly regrowing and you're shedding old cells and regrowing new ones thanks to your stem cells, which we didn't even talk about. I'm a huge dork on those, but like you're constant, like I just killed so many cells. They have to be replaced. I need protein. Where do I get that protein? So whatever you eat is the building blocks of your body.
Well, I mean, that again, having explained like that, it makes perfect sense. It's like, oh, that should be common knowledge.
Right.
But I don't know why, because I'm in that camp. People just don't, like, unless you're intentionally seeking out that information, you don't recognize it that way.
Yeah.
And then you compound that with what you said a little bit earlier. This is still rattling around in my brain. The fact that, hey, if your liver is not working properly, you need to store toxins. You're going to store it in the fat cells. And if you didn't a lot of fat cells, because drinking beer, whether it's light beer or the fucking heftiest IPA in the world, you're basically drinking bread.
Yes.
And so if you're just...
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's crazy. And I just thought of this way to explain it too, because people are always like talking about I can't eat carbs or I need more protein or whatever. It's like your body is protein. So like the quality of your protein is what turns into your cells. Like literally collagen is a protein that makes up most of your body. That's the main protein in your body. Your carbs are your fuel. Like your carbs are the gas. So like, are you eating sugar or are you eating a sweet potato? Both carbs, but like a sweet potato is going to keep you full a lot longer and burn smoother and not give you the crash later. And then the fat is for your hormones and also fuel. It's a slower fuel, but like if you don't have healthy fats, your hormones are fucked. Your hormones are based on fat.
Right.
So it's like if you have, and that just relates to everything. Fat for hormones, carbs for fuel, protein for rebuilding of your body. But it's like no one thinks of it like that. It's a chemical reaction. You are made up of chemistry, among other things. Not saying you don't have magic in you too. There's probably a little bit of that as well.
Well, listen, this has been a fucking blast.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on the show.
This is awesome. Before we get out of here, I really want to say thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a small fish in a fucking ocean coming to Austin right now. And no, you really helped make me feel welcome.
Hell yeah.
From that Thursday show, hanging out after that to last night, I've met a lot of amazing people over this short period of time, and you are at the top of that list.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's been very fun having you here. Like, it's fun from my perspective too to get to see someone have that. I told you that when I first started comedy, you are being me when I would go visit my friend Destiny in Los Angeles in 2019. I would just go and stay with her in LA, and we'd go to the Comedy Store, and I'd be like, I specifically remember one time sneaking into the Comedy Store to go to the bathroom. I didn't have a ticket, but I really needed to pee, so I just snuck in there, and I bumped into Sarah Silverman, and I was like, I just brushed shoulders with Sarah Silverman. Oh my God. Walking to the bathroom being an idiot, but I know exactly how you feel it. It's just really fun to be able to be like, hey man, I can get us in there. Or no, we should go here. And going to $7,000 and running into whoever you recognize from Kill Tony. And it's just, it's fun.
It's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot of fun. It means the fucking world. So seriously, thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm very glad you asked me to do the podcast. This is fun.
This is a lot of fun. And next time I'm in Austin, or if you ever find yourself in New Mexico, we got to do it again.
Yeah, for sure. Blast. I'll let you know if Albuquerque book me.
Hey, we've got fucking 2 badass clubs and we're finally getting hyenas.
Hey, can perform, will drive. I'm not even kidding.
And we'll show up on time.
We'll show up on time.
So before we get out of here, where can everyone find you, like social media, website wise, upcoming shows?
My name is Allison Wojtowecz, so don't try to spell that. Alliwo, ALLIWO is the easiest way to find me. Alliwo.com, Alliwo on Instagram. I think that's my Facebook. That's definitely my YouTube. Yeah, and then shows. I have Litty Titty Tuesdays at the Creek. It's 2 Tuesdays a month right now, but just Litty Titty Tuesdays comes up pretty easily. We got the merch, the merch drop for you fucking fiends out here. That's on alliwo.com. And then, yeah, Deja Vu Comedy is a new one that I'm still trying to figure out, but a couple locations coming up on that. And you came to the first one, which I very much appreciate. I was losing my mind before it. But yeah, other than that, I'm on the road this weekend, but just alliwo.com for upcoming shows. I add stuff all the time. So,
Fuck yeah. Well, thank you again, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.